Story 1. A lot of people are selfish these days. I can't be bothered with them. I have one friend who is very much like me. Story 2. I have a few, but I am fine not having any more. I do not care to open up to someone unless I really care about them, so I simply do not anymore. Story 3. Because my last long-lasting friendship of over 15 years ended up being mostly toxic and abusive, and I did not realize it until the end, it kind of ruined deep friendships for me. Now, I mostly have acquaintances and basically no real friends. Story 4. I have more than enough friends. What I will say, though, is that friendship has its shelf life too, unless no one involved is growing or evolving into newer versions of their older selves. As people change, friendships can begin to feel a little stifling. Story 5. People have families, responsibilities, and often friendships become strained, especially as you leave your hometown area. Friendship requires effort, and I am guilty of not putting in that effort consistently. However, I remind myself that those lost friends chose not to either. Story 6. I used to be very trusting and a people pleaser. For decades, I was used, lied to, and taken advantage of relentlessly. I knew it was happening, but I kept allowing it in the hopes that friends would realize they were treating me terribly and feel bad about it. Nope, that never happened. I am a closed book now in general. I do not want to be, but it is necessary. Story 7. I do not really drink or smoke. I am an introvert and I find it hard to relate to most people due to being different and a terrible communicator. Story 8. I quit drinking and they act like I am contagious. Also, they were very disrespectful, and I did not notice until I became sober. Story 9. People get to know me and then think I am too high-strung. They think it is weird that I do not drink when I hang out or do not like my interests. I do not really bother anymore. It is not worth the heartbreak. Story 10. A few months ago, I moved to another country to escape poverty. I work in English, which is neither my native language nor the local language. I cannot speak the local language, and I have no family or friends closer than at least 1,500 kilometers. It is quite hard to make connections. Story 11. Naturally, I am very quiet, so it is hard to connect with people. Secondly, I do not really want friends. The only time I wanted friends was so I would not be seen alone at lunch during high school. Aside from that, I do not care. Story 12. I don't want any. I'm not a people person. I have very few people in my life. People tend to not be genuine and only keep you in their life if it benefits them. Why would I take time away from those I have genuine love and connection with for friendship? Story 13. Many factors contribute, but the main ones are moving too often, not having enough time in my day for other people, and a lack of desire to have social interactions. Story 14. I have always been someone who belongs to large groups. I create them when I am alone in a place, and I do not like having preferences toward anyone. Therefore, those I consider friends at that moment are all best friends, and at the same time, none of them are. Story 15. I do not like fake people. They may seem like the nicest person on earth in front of you, but when they leave, it is the opposite. Story 16. I am an introvert, though I may call myself an ambivert. I was never seen as a true friend because of my personality. They could not handle a person in a social group who is less talkative. Story 17. I have a few friends. I wish I could do more with them, but I have a family too, and it is hard to find time. Story 18. Because I do not like to clean my floor regularly or tidy my living room, I do not stockpile drinks in advance, and going out is too expensive. I enjoy 1970s music and have only one game controller. I still have good friends who live far away. I see them once every year or two, which is enough, with occasional online contact. My work requires me to interact with many people every day, and being friendly is part of my daily tasks, skills, and responsibilities. Story 19. Going out to do anything at all is always a chore. I have the most fun just relaxing at home and being able to do what I want. Story 20. I have a very limited social energy, so I find it difficult to maintain consistent communication, especially with multiple people. Story 21. First of all, thank you for assuming correctly. I don't have friends because I attach too quickly, don't let go, fall in love platonically, almost immediately, am annoying, can't connect with boys my age, can't connect with girls my age, have social anxiety, depression, and immensely complicated emotions. Humans are scary. People will always try to hurt you in some way. My family and past experiences with friends have taught me that someone can say they love you and hurt you more than anything else in the same moment. No, I'm not okay. Thanks for asking. Story 22. I like my own company. I am not a fan of the people I am surrounded by on a daily basis, so I do not interact with them much. I do not like parties, so I do not have many opportunities to meet someone new, and I do not yearn for it either. Story 23. Because maintaining friendships as an adult requires time, energy, and vulnerability. Sometimes life gets so busy or complicated that it feels easier to withdraw than to keep up with people, even when you do not want to be alone. Story 24. I was not involved, but I knew someone from my sports club who seemed cool initially. However, as our group got to know them better, it became clear they disliked anyone with differing political views or thoughts. It was not a fun time because they argued a lot. Now, I think they just hang out with their parents all the time. Story 25. I ask too much of people. I give myself fully to friends, and I expect the same in return. Most people are not willing to do that, and it is understandable. Story 26. I take a long time to communicate with people, especially if there is distance between us. If I have not seen or received a message from you in a while, it is easy for me to forget to reach out for a long time, months or even years. It is not that I do not care. I just get wrapped up in my own life, and by the time I remember, it has been so long that I feel they have moved on and forgotten about me too. At that point, in my mind, that friend is basically gone for good. I have not made new friends since I was in my 20s. I will be close to 40 in a few years. Story 27. I am very selective now. You are lucky if you manage to befriend me. Other than that, I keep my distance and my guard up. I mostly think nobody will care or keep trying either way. There is always a snake in the grass, fakes, and liars. No real genuine people around nowadays. I am a loyal friend, but are you? What matters to me now is close family. If you are not here when I am struggling, you are not going to be sitting at my table when I am having the best life. Story 28. I wish I knew. People seem to like me, yet they do not connect, so it feels like every connection is hanging by a thread. Story 29. Because I was bullied in high school for both my shyness and overbite. As for work, you are not allowed to socialize on the job, and the break room is a lot like high school where everyone sits at their own tables and in groups. I am staying at this job until I finish college. They will pay for all of it, so no in real life friends until that point. Story 30. I invite people. I'm busy. Sorry, I have to cancel those plans. Such and such person can't work that day, so I have to. Even though we planned this a month ago, I can't. I'm watching the kids. I text people. They take a long time to respond, and when they do, it's a one-word reply. Sometimes they don't respond at all. I can't do anything with a person who won't have a simple back and forth with me. If I didn't contact these people on my own, I would never hear from them again. People don't invite only me anywhere. I only end up going to places my girlfriend gets invited to because it would be rude not to invite me as well, considering we live together. No one I know nearby is interested in gaming, anime, superheroes, Dungeons and Dragons, art, or anything I actually like. Generally, they are into trucks or farming around here. I like drinking, but they don't want to go or drink with me. People I know online who like to play video games don't like the same games I do, or if they do, they don't have time to play with me. So, I end up playing a lot of single-player games. I don't like playing cooperative multiplayer with random people anymore. Teammates ignore teamwork and get mad at me for trying to make us work as a team. The people I know who play Dungeons and Dragons online either don't play anymore or don't invite me when they do. The one place I could make some friends is a card shop. I could participate in a local Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament a couple of towns over, but I absolutely hate the current state of that game. I tried Magic, the Gathering, but don't understand it at all. The community for the one video game I absolutely love is full of unpleasant people, and I don't like how they behave. I know it's not everyone, but I've had enough bad experiences for that not to matter. It's not for lack of trying, but I guess I've also been told that I try too hard. So now I mind my own business and do my own thing, hoping someone is interested in what I do. Story 31. I have pretty much kept moving my entire life and have not really had time to make good connections. I am also not the best at communicating. Story 32. Because I am a poor loser. If I tell someone that I am a virgin, I get mocked. But I do not care anymore. Soon I will end my life anyway, so I do not need them. Story 33. I learned from a young age that people come and go. No one is permanent. The only person who will always be with you, no matter what, is yourself. Another reason is that I am 21, and everyone my age only cares about partying, drinking, and spending money on unimportant things. They have not matured since high school. Trying to have a conversation does not work because I am not in that scene with the rest of the people my age. However, I find it much easier to converse with my coworkers, who are in their late 20s and early 30s. Story 34. I have very few friends. I am terrible at maintaining relationships. I am a 40-year-old introverted father with a full-time job. The little free time I have, I prefer spending alone with music, video games, or movies. Story 35. Depression caused one of my close friendships to end. I haven't forgiven myself for it yet. It is better to keep people at a distance. Story 36. Several reasons. I am socially anxious, so I never really end up making friends, just talking to people in passing. I moved out of state. I had to end relationships with a group chat I was part of for 9 years. I also had to cut ties with my last friend due to a toxic friendship. The person behaved in an uncomfortable and almost sexual manner toward me. So, overall, I am starting over from zero. Story 37. I don't like to drink, and at my age, that is the only reason everyone gets together. If it was not for golf, I probably would not know anyone. Story 38. Because no matter how many people I ask if they want to hang out or play a game, nobody ever says yes. I have not hung out with someone since 2021. I hate how making friends as an adult is difficult. Story 39. Moved cross-country from a place where I had a good friend group back to where I used to live, where none of my previous friends still lived. I am too much of an introvert to do much about it, and I am too old for most of the ways people go about making friends. I have been back home for 8 years and have gone to hang out with local people exactly once. Friendship did not happen, which is not necessarily anyone's fault. Story 40. I cut off everyone from my old school. Everyone I met at my new school graduated early. I work too much to hang out with anyone. Story 41. I have a hard time relating to others. Kids my age think I am strange. I only consider one boy in my class, who has been with me since elementary school, my friend. We like the same things and decided we will always be together in the future. Next year, we are going to a different school together to get away from the bullying. He is the only one I can trust. For many, he is strange. For me, he is my only and best friend outside of the internet. Story 42. I used to have friends. I developed diabetes, and over time, I started gaining more weight. I was put on insulin, which caused me to gain weight. This made my blood sugar rise, leading to an increased insulin dose, which caused further weight gain. I became overweight and never wanted to go out. Nobody wants to be friends with someone who never wants to do anything. So, I stopped talking to my friends and stayed inside my house. After about 10 years, I finally got my act together. Now, I am in the best shape I have been since college. This also means I no longer like to sit around at home. 51 years old, I am out doing things almost every night. I have new friends, which is a very nice thing to have again. It was difficult that I did nothing for so many years, but I am out of that rut now and living life. Story 43. Because I called them out on their double standards, they did not like that and cut me off. I thought we were friends. I thought communication was important until you expressed that you do not like something they did. Story 44. Most of them were abusive and not welcome back into my life. The good ones are few and I cherish them. Story 45. I lose track of time and have moments of sudden realization that the last time I spoke to them was 2 months ago, even though it feels like it was only a few days ago. Story 46. I was dragged to a new city from a small town at about the worst time possible. Just finishing high school as my father got a promotion in the new city. As I am not much of a drinker, I did not do the bar scene by myself in a new big city, and the internet was not as prolific as it is today in terms of finding local hangouts like gaming groups or other nerdy activities. I am sure if I put more effort in, I could have had more friends, but my job keeps me busy with people all day, and I am largely content on my own by the end of the workday. There are times when I wish I knew more people, though, when I just want to check out a new burger joint in town, go to a movie, or do something else that is more fun in groups. Story 47. I spend much of my time overwhelmed with anxiety, which causes me to struggle to maintain relationships. It is hard to meet people in your 30s in a new city. Story 48. They are all dead: drugs, suicide, murder. Sometimes I feel like something has been looking out for me all these years. Story 49. I grew up being treated like a child and isolated throughout school, so I learned to entertain myself. I do not know how to make friends and have no desire to do so. Story 50. I never had many friends, but I used to have a good group. For many years, I was insufferable online. I constantly picked fights, especially over political topics on Facebook and similar platforms. I often took it too far, and as a result, many people unfriended me and have now basically ghosted me. I went through significant changes, and that is not who I am anymore. Most of my posts and comments are positive now. However, it does not matter much because the damage is done. I tried reaching out to a few people, but it did not go anywhere. I think I permanently ruined those friendships. Story 51. I am ashamed to say that I have ghosted all of them because I was dealing with strong mental health issues. Story 52. There are not many places for me to meet like-minded people my age in my area. I am not in school, and most of my coworkers are old enough to be my parents, so I am just out of luck. Story 53. Because I always felt bad leaving my wife and children at home while I spent a couple of nights a week out each month. Having game night at home did not work well either. Now I am finding that I do not really have any friends to support me during a time when my marriage is really struggling. Story 54. Because I stay at home and do not work, all my old friends from the military are in different states. It is hard for me to make friends because I do not open up easily to people. Story 55. I used to not have friends because people are simply foolish and selfish these days, and I almost couldn't find a single person who doesn't talk about others behind their backs. Thank God I made some actual friendships. Story 56. Because I panic when people get close, I never reach out or message and assume they do not really want to hear from me. I feel so bad and guilty about ghosting all the time that I am too ashamed to message or call. This is the basic pattern. Story 57. Too many betrayals and abandonments, and now I just don't trust people enough, so I keep any acquaintances at arm's length. Story 58. Having a meaningful relationship requires people to have three important things. They need to already have a good life to begin with. They need to have good communication. They need to be confident. Being an alcoholic is a great way to be bad at all of them, but the longer I am sober, the better I become at all three. Story 59. A girl formed a vendetta against me because I made jokes about a situation we both experienced. I stopped making jokes about that situation 2 years ago. She lived with my friends, and I did not, so they sat in their dorm every night and spoke negatively about me for an entire semester without saying a word. Finally, people I am still technically friends with told me because I directly asked, "Does X not like me?" Then I was told she single-handedly turned people who knew me for who I was, had been to my house, and had met people I care about against me. I was never close to this friend, and they all love her, but it is what it is. I do not want to be friends with people who refuse to have a confrontation. If you have an issue with me, bring it to me. We are in college. I do not have time for people who still act like they are in middle school. Story 60. I'd want to say that I am clumsy, but I think that is just not taking accountability. I don't necessarily struggle with social interaction. The problem usually arises later on. I'm not too bad at making friends, but I am absolutely terrible at keeping them. Any advice would be appreciated. I was just thinking about this again today. Story 61. I had no friends in 11th grade. It was just that I did not know how to talk or keep conversations going. In 12th grade, I made some friends and it boosted my self-esteem a lot. Story 62 raised my standards, I suppose. I just didn't want to be a doormat that is always there for everyone when they do not care. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.